But let's get into the next guy that I have on the roster and on the docket. He is the second most tenured guard on the San Antonio Spurs, Ethan. He's somebody that we have talked about for basically the entire, well, not even basically, for the entire time we've been doing this show. And ironically, if you look there, Ethan, his first season was our first season doing this show, and he's our age. I feel like we've kind of grown up with Devin in a lot of ways. You could say the same thing with Keldon. And throughout those first 5 seasons that you see down there, Ethan, a lot of what we've said is, hey, look, Devin's improving. Give him some time. He's young. He's 25 now, and we are not, trying to develop anymore. We're trying to win. So I'll dish it to you, Ethan, because I've said so much about Devin over the years. What are your expectations for him this season? What are your thoughts on his role on the Spurs this year? And just everything you're looking forward to in 2025-26.
Expectations are high for Devin Vassell. I think that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. As you said, we've literally, as my cat pushes my computer, we have watched him his entire career with the Spurs. And honestly, we've been pretty accurate with our forecast of his career. And if you look at his stats, he has improved every year other than last year. And there's a lot of context there, especially around his injury. But when you drop from 19 to 16 points a game, from 4 assists to 2.9, and then your efficiency drops as well, Jude. And then just the eye test.
Yeah.
He never looked comfortable. And he was always searching for his spot on the team and how he could best be effective in different rotations. Personally, I think he's most effective off the bench. I think if you give him the keys to the bench unit and let him be the go-to scorer, the go-to facilitator even, because we don't know exactly how Dylan Harper, how ready he will be. But if you play the offense through him off the bench, I think he will be a new Devin Vassell. That's just my own personal opinion. I think we would see maybe not a huge jump from 16 points a game, but better efficiency, especially from 3. 36% is not going to cut it for a guy that you drafted as a 3-and-D specialist, right? And he got to a point where he was shooting 39%, and we thought, okay, he's gonna get to 40 and surpass that. And instead, he's back down a little bit. And I understand that maybe you could say volume, bigger role. His volume's decreased too. And unfortunately, when you take a lesser role, when you become more of a 3-and-D guy, we expect more efficiency from you. We're less inclined to forgive a 44% field goal percentage and a 36% from 3. So my own personal opinion was to play him off the bench, let him be that go-to guy off the bench, play the offense through him. And if we see an efficiency boost, I think he can be a Manu-esque type player for us, at least in role for the Spurs moving forward. I'm
Stole it, man.
If at the same time, Jude, if he comes out and he's starting, if that's what the Spurs want to do, because we're paying him all that money, he is a guy that we drafted 5 years ago, so it's only fair. Give him the chance. We're going to need to see a huge jump in terms of just catch and shoot 3-point percentage, because if he's not hitting his shot from deep, it's really difficult to keep playing him. Because defensively, I think we're more forgiving of Devin.
Yeah.
But he's not a Stephon. He's not a DPOY guy. He's not an all defensive second or first team guy. And that's fine. Like, you can still be a serviceable defender. But as his efficiency declines, it's really hard to play him, especially with the amount of money that we're playing him.
Yeah. I hear so many things that you were saying there, Ethan. What I'll harp on is just him last year. You can mention the stat decreases and all that stuff, but you could also make the argument that they're just marginal too. And then you bring in all of the context with, oh, he's figuring out his role, or like you said, there's the injury and everything. But the bigger thing for me, I bring that up to say, like, you can make a counter argument for that. What you can't make a counter argument for is the eye test, like you mentioned. It just looks like he couldn't find his place. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And when you think about Wemby's first year, he was almost like the main ball handler in pick and rolls with Wemby. And then this season, not only do you have Stephon who comes in, but then in the middle of the year, you have De'Aaron Fox who's added to the roster. So those guys end up kind of becoming the two main ball handlers. And like you said, he becomes more of an off-ball player. Now, especially in this bench role that you're mentioning, as much as Dylan Harper would be there, I think he would 100% have some opportunities for on-ball creation and ball handling and bringing the ball up the floor. But regardless of if he's in the starting lineup or off the bench, catch and shoot consistency is the first thing I have written down on my notes when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to Devin Vassell. I really believe he has the ability to do it, dude. I think he has all of the physical tools. I think he has a good shot, but can he perform under pressure? Can he perform, when the lights are turned on? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's really what it comes down to. And we've mentioned this for years. We were so forgiving. There were so many people over the years that were coming and yelling at us and telling us he sucks, and we're like, hey, just give him some time. He's a super young player. But now that we're here when he's 25 and the Spurs are trying to win with Wemby, and it's very obvious with the way that we've built the roster that that's going to be the case. And the fact that, let me pull this up 1 second. Pulling up the salaries here, he is the second highest paid San Antonio Spur behind De'Aaron Fox this season at 27 million, like by 10 million, or I guess you got Harrison Barnes there at 19 million. So by 8 million, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, he is the second highest paid Spur. Like I said, Ethan, we've kind of grown up with him. He's 25 now. He's got to make it happen. I think, like I said, I believe he has the ability to do it, but are you going to execute? And unfortunately, that's just kind of what it comes down to with that this year. But just to rattle off a couple other things on Devin here, finding a role on and off the ball offensively. Like I said, I think on the ball, we know what that can be. If he's playing off the bench, he'll have more opportunities. Regardless of if he's in the starting lineup or the bench, like I mentioned earlier, he's going to need to start hitting shots more consistently, whether he's playing next to Steph and De'Aaron or Dylan Harper. Those are all point guards, theoretically. Not
Mm-hmm.
Steph as much, but y'all get the point. Um, and then on the defensive end of the ball, I haven't mentioned this, just defensive consistency. I feel like when I think about Devin's defense, I feel like the one-on-one possessions that I watched, they're like 50-50. Sometimes he'd get beat off the dribble or he'd just get bullied physically a little bit. But also there were times that I saw him trail guys or stay in front of them and swat them at the rim. I really saw a
Mm-hmm.
couple like
I remember that.
the rim swat specifically showed up later in the season, and that was all effort from Devin. You know what I mean? So you can criticize other things, but he's trying out there. It's not like he's just like, I don't care on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's why it's a consistency thing. And again, I think he has the physical tools in that like on ball, lateral movement situation to make it happen. And that's really where I think he can get better. Maybe a little bit of like getting lost in rotations as well. That's something else that maybe pops up in my mind. He misses a backdoor cut or something, but there's also possessions that stick out in my mind where he kind of clamps people up like Gary Payton too. So again, it's seeing that consistently. And I'm not asking him, to go out there and hold SGA to 5 of 19. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm honestly not going to expect him to really get a stop in a one-on-one with a guy like SGA. But the rest of the league, the
Mm-hmm.
rest of those non-elite ball handlers, just those average to above average, guards, if he can, play solid defense and above average defense against them, that's kind of my standard for Devin. And then the last thing I had written down, and this ties into consistency, is again, like you said, it's efficiency. When your shots decrease, your efficiency matters more, and it's going to be amplified more, unfortunately. And it sucks because with more shots, you actually get a better sample size, of what it looks like. But now that he's in the position that he's in, and the roster is built the way that it is, it just kind of is what it is. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? There's no more excuses. But the last thing I had written down was when Dev is on. Like when he's on, he's a 20 piece waiting to happen.
Easy.
And that's why the last thing I had written down was low key ... Kind of want him in a Manu-esque role. And I don't want to compare him to Manu because Manu's one of one. I got his jersey. Okay, there we go. Sometimes looking at the camera, it's not right. But I got his jersey right up here. He's my favorite player. I grew up with him. Like, I don't want to disrespect him. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
everything he's done. But dude, if Devin can figure it out as a six man, that's what he is. He's a microwave scorer who brings energy, juice off the dribble, step back jumpers that are exciting for the crowd. We see him get dunked sometimes. Like I said, we've even seen flashes, of exciting, trailing, swats at the rim that'll bring energy to the crowd. That reminds me of Manu. You know what I'm saying? And again, Devin's got so much work before he's even in the conversation with a guy like Manu. But there's a lot of things in his game where I can kind of see it. Kind of like you were saying with Tony Parker and De'Aaron.
Only other thing I'll say, as a leader, and then the guy in the locker room, I think he's there. Maybe not at Manu level, but I think he's
Yeah.
important to the team. So I will give him credit there. But I agree with everything that you said, especially defensive points. Very good points.
Any final thoughts on Dev before we move on?
No, sir. Good luck, my friend. I hope you make it.
Dev, let me pull up this roster again, dude. Like, because if Devin Vassell is on, if we can get a solid year for Devin Vassell where he just really fits in the role and everything meshes, dude, we've got a guard rotation of De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Devin Vassell. Like I said, if Devin Vassell's on, dude, you can make an argument those are all starting level NBA guards.
1,000%.
Which again goes to the depth piece. So I really want it to work out for Devin, because if that's the case, it's going to be better for the Spurs overall too in our team and our depth.
Yes, sir.